Topolar here. All right, are you talking in reference to the co-naming of the Topala Street? Of the corner of Brighton First and
yes, from what I understand, that's why I was asked to join you guys. But if you guys are moving it, then obviously let me know.
No, we're waiting for the member of the community board, Boris Pincus, who introduced this to us,
Okay,
who
got
made
it.
a lot of statements about
Did we lose her? Did I lose everyone?
You muted everyone.
Yes.
I didn't mute everyone.
Okay,
no,
I
I think we lost her
Marion.
video also. Just give her a second to come back on.
Okay, there she goes. And also, Fania hand was raised.
Eddie, I text you, you need to say that this meeting is recorded, etc.
Okay.
It's the same thing for every meeting
Thank
for
you.
the last 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, but
All
it
right.
also says it on the screen.
Okay, so,
all right,
as
so
you know,
we're-
everybody, that we are recording this, so anything that is being said or written in the chat can be foiled at a later date. Okay, all yours.
All right. So Lucy, how do we proceed now? We've all read his letter because that came to us in August. He did give a biography of the gentleman. I wanted him here in person because he insulted my colleague and my friend, Elena, and called her a liar. And I wanted him to apologize for doing so. And aside from that, if everybody read the information, we can vote on it. Do you have anything to say beyond the information that was submitted to us, Mr. Topola? And I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
It's actually Topaler. Yeah, hey guys, thank you so much for hi. How are you, everybody? Nice to meet you, and thanks for jumping on the call, and thanks for letting me speak. You know, when Boris contacted me, he asked me to hop on and kind of speak for a moment where I feel like it would be fitting to you know, to maybe name a street for my father. So here's my 5 cents. Let me introduce myself. My name's Alex. I'm Victor's son. I'm his only son. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a Grammy Award-winning commercial director and music video director and film director. I think, you know, for me, and the reason why I believe it makes sense is because I think in the last 20 years, if you had to choose one person that really became the voice of the Russian-speaking community, it'd probably be my dad. If you had to pick one person, not only has he been with the Russian-speaking community through, you know, trials and tribulations, and he was also a familiar face on television, you know, week after week after week, but he was also intimately involved with the Russian-speaking community. You know, both giving free lectures at and performances at the Millennium Theater, and also the library. He also created the special television show that ran for 12 seasons, and its only purpose was to educate Russian immigrants on you know, American traditions, American culture, and American history. He basically kind of co-financed it. I don't think he was really making money off of this. He was just doing it to make sure that people can get integrated and they're part of the community and understand what US is about. And I think it was a huge thing, and many people really appreciated it. Last week I had a woman reach out to me, ask me if I could send her old seasons because her husband is dying of like a lung disease, and I guess he can't move. And the only thing that makes him happy is to watch that TV show. And she's watching the seasons one after another, and I guess that made a huge difference in that person's life, and that was the last thing he wanted to watch, right? So there's a lot of stories like that. I can talk about my dad for a while, but again, I think if you were to speak to anybody who's a Russian language immigrant and in the US and in Brooklyn, I think they would point to him as probably one of the shinier stars that existed. So in my mind, it's a no-brainer. But obviously, I'm related to him, so probably my opinion is not as important as everybody else's. But again, thank you for giving me the stage. Hopefully, this helps, or maybe doesn't help. But yeah, thank you guys.
All right, does anybody have anything else to say? Okay,
have
I will
Ida.
say one thing.
Oh, wait, we have Ida and Jeff.
All right, Eddie, I will say one thing, that I understand your father was very important to the Russian community. Our community consists of not just Russians. All right. In the past, we have co-named streets that have helped the community, been part of the community. People like Marsha Rappaport, people like Mitch Wesson, people like Freddie Schneider. These were people that helped the community. They didn't target one specific group, but that is my opinion. All right.
Marion, I understand that. I guess what's nice about the United States in general is the fabric of different communities and different immigrants and different people that came from various places. We have this melting pot, right? So you have people who are really important to Arabic community, to the Jewish community, to the Russian community, to the Italian community, and obviously that's what makes this country great, and that's really what creates the different communities and different fabric of what the U.S. really is. So I understand that I maybe don't fully agree with it, but again, you guys know better, and it's just my personal opinion.
I don't know if we know better, but I do know that when your friend appeared in front of this land use committee back in August, he, aside from insulting Elena and calling her a liar, besides saying that he got the approval from the councilwoman to do this, and aside from telling us that he had petitions supporting the idea of co-naming the street, none of which he managed to show us at all. I mean, he did send us a very nice biography of him, and it's very impressive.
I wrote it, so I'm glad you like it.
Okay. Thank you.
So
he didn't even write this then. Okay.
Well, but I mean, as far as Boris knows, again, I don't know your personal tribulations and history, so I'm not sure how that works out. I can just speak for myself. As far as as far as the petitions go, I know that Davidson Radio did have this thing where people could call in and leave messages and ask to in support of renaming the street. And I know they got about 6,000 of those. And I just know the owner of the radio station, and I know the people that work there, and that's what I've been told. I know all of that is logged and could be provided. So I think that's definitely real, and I know you guys can take a listen to it. It's interesting because you could listen to the messages people left, and they're heartbreaking because people didn't just call and say, "Oh, I want the street to be renamed." They said why my dad was important to them, why he left such a huge mark in their lives, and I listened to a couple, but I can't listen to 6,000 because it's really hard for me because he's gone basically. So.
Okay, well, this committee consists of not just me. Does anybody else have anything to say?
Yes, yes, Madam Chair. Jeff Sanoff over here.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say that I'm sure Mr. Topler was a very, very good host and a very good speaker on behalf of the Russian people, and gave a lot of information on on Gregory Davidson's radio. But the problem I have is what you said about the petition. This is the first time, and I've been on the board for 10 years and with different co-namings, that anybody used a phone, the phones to call into a radio show for a petition. Now, as far as I know, Davidson Radio can reach New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut areas, but online they can reach anywhere in the country, probably anywhere in the world. And I've listened to some of the translations from a friend of mine who speaks Russian, and some of these people came from Baltimore, came from Los Angeles, came from Florida, and even in Europe, some of them. So
Guys,
I don't know, excuse me. I
Sorry
don't
about that, yeah.
know if all of these people have any idea of what Brighton Beach is. It's not just like Marion said, just the Russian community. There are a lot of ethnic groups in there. We have Mexicans, we have American Jews, we have Italians. It's a mixed neighborhood. It's a mosaic. And you know, to give this type of petition is not, you know, in my view, a favorable response. I think better off, there should have been an army of people going down the boardwalk and going into the areas, Russian community, and getting their names, the address and emails of the people. So that's you know, that's my opinion. Thank you.
And actually, I think I failed to mention, I think they did that as well. So I believe they have both. They have the names, they have the radio calls, and they also have petitions that were collected in this fashion. And last, you know, just very last thing I would say. I mean, yes, I mean, perhaps people, again, like I don't personally know this, and it's not really my specialty, I guess. But I imagine people might have called from other places. But I guess at the end of the day, your guys' district is the heart of the Russian community. I think that's what makes the most sense, you know. So,
Mary-
I noticed,
thank you.
wait a minute, I noticed Lucy's hand up
No,
and then
it's Craig, Lucy, and then
and
Fanya.
Craig was next, and then Fanya, I
Lucy,
see
and then
you,
Fanya.
okay?
Okay.
All right, Lucy,
No, oh, go ahead, Lucy.
Craig, sorry.
All right, Craig first.
Thank you. Thank you, Marion. So it's been my experience that when it comes to street co-namings, people really should have a clear connection to the location that's being considered. And that's really the only way we can maintain a high bar for such a tribute so it doesn't diminish the honor. Now, I am not a board member, so I didn't get to see all of the paperwork, but from what I understand, Mr. Topoler was a giant in the Russian radio industry, within the Russian-speaking community, etc. But he didn't live here. He visited the library. A lot of people visit the library. People on the block, that block where that library is, shouldn't look up to their street sign and ask, who is that? There really needs to be a very clear connection between the person and the honor and the block. And to me, this just didn't measure up. So that doesn't mean that Mr. Topoler is any less worthy of honors, but in my mind, this just isn't the right spot for it. And that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, Craig. Then Lucy, Eddie?
Yep, Lucy, Defania, then Ida.
Okay, so thank you, Craig. And you're one of the reasons that I had the staff dig up in creating guidelines. And one of the tweaks in those guidelines is it basically, well, my request to the committee is that someone was within CB 13, et cetera. So, but when that comes to the floor, you'll see it and others will make their comments, they agree or they disagree, and we move on from there. I have a question for Marianne and I guess the staff. And I heard Jeff say, and I heard Oz, I think, oh, Alex, excuse me, 6,000 people spoke in favor of this. But I don't recall seeing 6,000 people information or their words translated in English for us, was it?
Again, that'd be a question for Boris, as I'm not the organizer of this.
Okay.
You know.
Well, he's not here, so.
He's
And
not
that's
here,
a-
which is so, excuse me, Lucy, I think he's showing us big disrespect. I'm
And
sorry.
you took the words out of my mouth. He's not only disrespecting us, he's disrespecting you, Alex.
Actually,
the
guys,
honor
I
of your
think
father.
he did text me, and he said that he's having some problems connecting to this call. I'm not sure if he got.
Listen, I gave him, I'm gonna continue the floor. When he came to us in August, the committee wasn't in favor of me making a decision and giving him a few months. We gave him to September. At the August meeting, I asked him directly, did the councilwoman have his back on this, if you want to use those words, his support. And she never wrote a support letter. What she said was she would take what this committee present and look into it. That's what she said. So I don't want to tell people that she wasn't, she just didn't support it at the moment. I don't know what her intentions are moving forward. I clearly said to him, is there a petition? He said, I have, Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he said he had about 100 signatures or 500.
He had a lot.
He had a lot.
He had
And
a
then
lot.
when I said to him, he says, but I didn't bring him with me. So the next day I had Eddie email him and he says, oh, I don't have him. So they must have got lost in the computer. And then they show up somewhere, 6,000 people talking, and I can't even read it or understand it in the language. So if you're presenting something to me, and as the chair of the community board, I requested from this committee to give him an extensive time to present, and he still hasn't come up with it, and then he doesn't show up here, and then he's going to tell you he has computer issues. You can call in. He doesn't have to log in. He can call in on the phone, and I'm sure he can use the phone. So for me, I'm definitely, when it comes down to for me to vote, I'm going to vote in favor no, because I truly believe that a person that's honored in this community should have lived or had boundaries within our community, our district. That's just how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanya? You're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Eddie, can you unmute her?
Okay, I did.
Thank you.
Can
Oh,
you hear
good.
me? Okay, good evening, everyone. I just spoke to Boris. He called me and he tried very hard to get into the meeting. And somehow, he's in Israel right now on a very important family emergency visit there. And so he could not come. I think it's a little bit, I'm sorry, with all respect, this is my second week. I was in the first meeting, it did not go very well. And this meeting, I think it's a little bit unfair that he's not here to defend himself of all these accusations. There was a heated discussions last time. I understand this. In terms of our community, I do believe I live in Brighton Beach. I think that one gentleman said that people on the block, when they're gonna see Mr. Tapalir, they're gonna ask him, Mr. Tapalin's way. They're gonna ask who is Mr. Tapalin. I believe that this particular block is maybe 80% Russian speakers who know Mr. Tapalir very well. Boris said that he was giving a lot of lectures for a couple years in the library, and Brighton First Road, the Brighton First Road is the heart of Russian-speaking community. It's not somewhere else, and people do know about him. And as Mr. Tapali's son said, you all probably agree that he's deserving and he's well known, and he really did a lot of work to help a community to adjust and to assimilate and to make something of their life and to be very contributing to American society. We, I believe, as members of community board, I appreciate very much the diversity of our community. There are a lot of, I know there are Mexicans, there are American Jews, there are, I don't want to, name all of them, but I do appreciate this. It really brings riches to our life to meet people from other cultures. And that's what this community board is all about, to represent everyone, every community. I don't believe we should diminish the contribution and the participation in this region, in this area, Russian community life. And I think it would be fair. I know that people are upset with Boris. Maybe technically he was not doing the things that you expect him to do. For example, I agree with Lucy. Maybe I should have helped him and translate, because it is unfair for you guys who don't speak Russian to know what people say and to take our word as a true words. I agree with you on this part, but I do believe that Mr. Topalov deserves to have this name. That's all what I can say.
Thank you. for
Vanya,
your
I'm just going to
comment.
interrupt.
Excuse me, wait a
Go ahead.
second.
Go ahead, Marianne.
Ida, then Elena, and then Pat had her hand up, okay?
Wait,
Okay.
I want to respond to her, Marianne. Okay, and I am going to. I just want to
Right
bring
as the
this to your
chair of the
attention.
community
Thank
board.
you, ma'am. We gave him 6 months. 6 months to present. And again, the committee was not in favor of giving him so much time, but we gave him 6 months. And again, I only see one person here, which is Alex, the son. Where are these 6,000 people? Because this Zoom goes as far as 10,000 people that could be present. Marian, I want to interrupt again. I just had to get that out.
Oh,
Okay.
also, okay, before you continue, after they mentioned about the library, I contacted the Brighton Beach Library to ask if they remember if he was there, and they do not remember him, at all. The current staff who were there, and even the people who were there for the longest time, they could not remember him being there or making an impression to the library. Okay, he might have done 1 or 2 workshops, but the librarians there did not say that he was a big impact to that library there.
Thanks, Eddie.
Okay.
Okay, again, Ida, Elena, and then Pat, in order. Ida?
You're talking about honoring someone. You should not put their name on that corner. We've lived on that block for 45 years. I would be insulted if somebody put my name up on that street sign. Nobody, it is such a horrible corner. No one is ever going to look up and see that name. The corner is unique in Brighton in that it does not have a traffic light. Both as a pedestrian and as a driver, your concentration is solely on getting through that corner and getting down the street. You're not going to look up. You're not going to notice this. If you want someone to be aware of the wonderful contributions that this man made, then put this sign in a prominent corner, such as at Ocean Parkway or Coney Island Avenue, or in the library. If he was such a great contributor to the library, you could even have a little display in the library about everything that he did and all of the wonderful things that he did. This corner is so bad. There are so many accidents that right now there is no street light there because a car went into it. And it's not the first time that a car went into a street light there. The street is unique in Brighton in that it's one way, dead end, and going into another one way. The street gets blockaded at the other end. We end up with traffic going the wrong way down the one-way street. The last thing we need on this corner is people looking up and saying, I remember this wonderful man. He did so many wonderful. Number one, nobody is even going to know that it's there because there are so many distractions on this corner, and it's so tough to get around there. The guy comes with the Christmas trees in the winter for the holidays, and the trees are halfway up the post. If you really want to honor this man, and he sounds like he is certainly deserving of honor, then you should put his street naming in a sign where people are going to see it and where people are going to have the time to stop and to think and to remember all of the good things that he did, not to be placed up on a sign where he's just going to be a distraction. And, heaven forbid, we don't want someone to stop there in the middle of the block and say, oh, that's where they named the street for him and get hit by a car, because this is, ask Lucy. all we ever do about this corner is complain about traffic, is complain about accidents, is complain about we can't get through because there's trucks there, because there's a blockage at the Brightwater end and cars are going the wrong way. So really, if you want to honor somebody, again, I would be personally insulted if somebody said to me that they wanted to put my name, and I'm living in here 45 years, I'm living on that block, and I'm a native Brooklynite, and I'm a third generation Brooklynite, and I would be insulted if my name was up on that corner. So all I want to say is, sounds like a wonderful person, and I think people would be interested in him. And if you really want to do something to honor him, then put that sign in a location where it's going to be visible, where people are going to have the time to stop and to reflect and to remember what he did. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. Elena, can I just say something before you speak?
Sure.
Since he was a big fixture in the Russian radio and television community, wouldn't it be more appropriate to have a street sign naming him near the radio station or the television station? That was where he made the impact, not on the corner of Brighton First and Brighton Beach Avenue. He didn't make the impact there. Okay, Elena, and I'm sorry, Elena, that he couldn't apologize.
Okay, thank you, Marian, for mentioning. Thank you. I did not plan to speak because I said everything I wanted to say in the last committee, including proposal to co-name the street next to radio station, and about this corner and about the library project. But I decided to say a few words because Mr. Alex Tapaler is here. Alex, your father was a remarkable person. Even though I don't listen to Russian radio, not my cup of tea, but I do know how talented and how good he was. And I strongly believe he deserved to be remembered and his memory to be commemorated. But again, I have no idea why sorry for being redundant, idea of renaming one of the darkest, one of the most dangerous corners of Brighton Beach area came up. So out of respect to you and to memory of your father, I highly recommend to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Pat, and then
Cool,
Gloria.
thank you.
I've been active for a lot of years, 4 decades. I've had the honor of meeting many of the Russian leadership, like Boris Talas, Larry, with the Holocaust Memorial in the park. I've met many people who have helped make our country and our community better because they got involved. But I feel bad that I don't know Alex's father, and I'm sure he's a brilliant journalist. And your suggestions are well taken, I think. I would like to honor people who are going to be in other streets like that, who made our community better by getting involved and getting to know our culture, the people that are here, and reached out like Boris did. I mean, he bridged the 2 communities together. Valeria, am I saying it right? Valeria was on Coney. I'm just having a moment here. Valeria on Coney Island. We put a street sign up for him. He came in my office. He introduced himself in the beginning. I sat with him at the Odessa Association that was formed and worked with him to get it incorporated. I worked with a lot of the Russian leadership, but they gave back. Even my own grandfather, who came from Odessa, helped form the Musicians Local in New York City. He was a trumpet player. He became Americanized and assimilated and worked to make this land right here a better place for all of us. I'm hesitant because I don't know Alex's father. I respect his skills and his ideas, his concepts, but I think I would go along with the idea that he should be remembered a library or something like that, where they put a memorial up inside there. The young people come in there will know and see their roots up there. It doesn't belong on a street like that. No.
Guys, can I say something? I'm sorry. I mean, I think like obviously there's a lot of issues with the fact that, like, you know, he was mainly a Russian speaking persona, and obviously people in the Russian community all know him. You know, whether it's in the United States or Israel or Germany or really anywhere in the world. I think his influence was much bigger than like this street sign or like this library. Did they remember him? Did not remember him and whatnot. Whether it was supporting the Russian opposition and really propping up our system and sort of like guiding us in a sense to what's transpiring right now between the United States and Russia, or being involved in helping the Russian and the Jewish community everywhere around the world. I think it's much bigger than just like a street corner in a sense. Obviously, it sounds funny coming from me because, you know, I'm his son, so of course I like my dad, right? Again, you're the specialist. I don't fully understand how it works. Like, oh, it has to be this street or that street and anything like that. You know, like obviously we call, you know, streets by names of figures that lived in a variety of places. If they did influence a country for the better, then you know, you might find their names on many streets around the country, and not specifically in that corner or this corner. But again, I digress. I don't really know how that functions. But I guess I think it's hard because we're trying to prove you, like, say like, hey, he was great and everybody knew him. But you know, if you're not Russian speaking, it seems like, oh, he's just some journalist. He was a huge influence on the entire Russian diaspora around the world, and probably one of the most vocal voices for it, both politically and culturally. So again, it's kind of tricky because I'm basically trying to tell you, like, hey, believe me, my dad was awesome. But you know, I know you named the street for, you know, I know a street is named for Dovlatov, who's a really famous Russian author. You know, and you know, that street's named in Brooklyn, and that kind of makes sense. You know, I believe that my father, in a sense, was the same magnitude of a person as Dovlatov was in many regards. Certainly, it seemed like that by the Russian community. So, but perhaps it is tough. I understand that there's and perhaps there's like an Italian, you know, journalist or author that I wouldn't know, and I would see his name on a street corner, but that would make me want to research and find out who that was. I remember living in Brussels, and you know, I got really familiar with a lot of like Flemish politicians and Flemish personas. So I feel like what makes it great is that allows people to reach out and learn something beyond like just, you know, their box, basically, I guess I would say. But anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Gloria.
The Vlatov Street is in the Queens, next to the building or block Sergei Dovlatov used to live.
I know, but I guess I'm saying it's also somewhat very niche, and only Russians would know it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, Gloria.
Alex, I didn't know nothing about your father, no history or anything. I've been living in Coney Island for over 53 years and traveled in and out of Brighton Beach. One thing that I was thinking about listening to all of this, first of all, I don't know, when I hear a Russian person, is you from Russia or are you from Ukraine? That's what I want to know, because people that speak the Russian language, to me, is from different places and different parts, like everybody else. So I just wanted to be clear on that. The other thing is,
Gloria, according to the bio that Alex wrote, he was born in Moscow.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, because I didn't see it. I didn't see it. But let me just finish say what I have to say. I'm not saying that his father wasn't a person that didn't do anything, nevertheless. But the fair fact is that nobody heard of him. And the other thing is, I brought it up before, with your father's history and being from Moscow, I don't know in the city, do they have European museum where somebody of that stature, information could go up. But nobody never heard of your farm. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Gloria.
Well, within the non-Russian community, that's definitely true. But if you speak
No, but
Russian, then you would have heard from my father.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, Alex, I do live in Coney Island. And Coney Island, I don't know the right percentage, but it's like 70, to me, it's almost like 70% of people that speak Russian in Coney Island. Just like in my building. I just want to say things, but sometimes it don't come out right. But I don't want and I don't wish this to happen to be like a language war or a race war, because there's other people from all over live in Coney Island and Brighton Beach. But the percentage of people that live in Brighton Beach is Russian-speaking people. Whereas 50 years ago, it wasn't too many Russian-speaking people in Coney Island and Brighton Beach. And if you want to add on, she said, babe. But that's all I have to say.
All right. Eddie, where's
Yes.
Eddie? Who raised their hand
We
first?
have
Michael or
Lucy, Michael is next. Lucy first.
Lucy first.
I already
Okay.
spoke. Let's just wait, give everybody their first chance and then I'll
Okay,
jump in again.
Michael? You gotta, unmute.
No, I know, it's unmuted. Alex, I feel for you. I'm being pretty much the only recipient on the board who had a street named after, not myself, but something that represents Coney Island. If I don't know your father, I've never heard him. I'm sure he was very strong in your community, but as far as what the people in Coney Island, and I believe most of the board believes, is it's not just what he's done for the Russian community, it's what he's done for Coney Island. You understand? It's myself being a representative. My name is Russo. We have a street named after Gargiulos because our restaurant is Gargiulos. You understand? And it's something that was lasted, that pretty much we're the oldest operating business in Coney Island. All right. And everyone, not to say everyone knows the name, but if everyone knew your father's name, it wouldn't be such a fight. I'm on your side. I'd like to, he deserves the respect, but in first with the person who nominated him, he's not here. I understand he has an emergency. That's why you're here. We're happy you're here to represent your family and your father, because it is a family thing. But if it was more like a Coney Island thing with people in Coney Island, it would be okay, a definite yes. Go ahead and do it. So you have my blessings. God bless your father. I'm sure he's a very strong. I've never heard him. I'm sure he's a very strong and important person. But like I said, we're talking about the Coney Island, Brighton Beach, Seagate, Gravesend community, and it's a big responsibility on what the other person is asking. I forget his name. I apologize. It's a big responsibility what he's asking. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. I'd love to check out the restaurant.
Thank you very much.
Lucy?
I just want to say I agree with the committee that, most of the people are saying honor him in a different way, just not in this is not the right location. But I would like to hear from the gentleman, Ozzy. I understand he's from the radio station. Am I correct, sir, or not? You're muted. You're muted, sir.
Hit unmute.
There we go. Okay, I'm sorry about that. The toolbar somehow slipped below the other bar on my computer. Anyway, thank you for recognizing me, as I said, in a muted fashion. The only thing that I'd like to add was, of course, that Davidson Radio does back the nomination of this street co-naming. Some people had talked about the petition, excuse me. And I know Eddie had the link, and also we translated what the petition was and gave you the Russian and also the English translation of what the people were responding. It's true, as far as I know, I don't speak Russian, although I work for the company. I believe I'm the sole only English speaking person in the company, but I don't believe anybody has translated it's close to 6,000 responses. And as Alex had said, I was told that a lot of them were very emotional, even some crying. And while it does represent our audience, which is, citywide, region-wide, worldwide, and of course, national, the majority of the people are very likely, and I can't vouch for it 100%, but I do say very likely from the Russian/Coney Island community, for the reasons that we all can understand the numbers of Russian-speaking people in the community, not to mention the people that come to the community as visitors, as Russian speaking. So, that's why Davidson Radio believes that, Mr. Topola should be honored, even though I'm told he did not live in the community.
Well, I agree. I think everyone agrees with you that he should be honored. So my question to you now is, why isn't the radio station honoring him? Why is there not a plaque in the station?
There is a picture there, but that's limited to the people that come up to the station.
Well, that
Okay.
to me, that my question, sorry, Marianne, but I'm just trying to get a point out here.
That's the
That
same
if
point I wanted to make.
If you want to let it out and we can agree on it, and then I'll jump in if there's something else I have to say. But I'll
Okay,
let
my
you speak now.
question, Mr. Heyman, is that where he belongs to be recognized, not necessarily inside the radio station, which he had, according to the there, that's an appropriate place, not the corner that Ida so eloquently described as being a horror show. That's the wrong corner for someone who is as great as you're saying and that his son wrote. All right, it doesn't belong in just that particular spot where the radio station is, where he did all his great work, where the television station is, where he did all his great work. That's where it belongs. We're not saying he's not entitled to it. What we're saying is you guys picked the wrong corner.
Okay, in terms of putting it by the radio station, which if you're not familiar, and also the TV station, it's Coney Island Avenue, Corner Avenue V approximately. And that is predominantly Sephardic Jewish neighborhood. Obviously, it's mixed like all our beautiful communities are, but predominantly, as I stated, and the footprint of the two stations is not where the benefit ends up. The benefit of our services, and in this case, one employee, Mr. Topola, a host on radio and TV, his community benefiting services they emanated from that location, but the people who got it were not at the location. It's more appropriate for it to be in Brighton Beach or Coney Island because, again, in this community, that's where the forefront, the majority of the Russian-speaking audience lives.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, right? But we also, as Ida said, it's a very poor spot that people are going to, there are already enough accidents on that corner. Am I right, Ida? Right? There are tons of accidents there. So
It's pretty pretty much one of the worst corners in Brighton. Maybe there's one that might be even worse, but definitely the second worst. It's a terrible location.
Terrible location.
There is no pole there. Sorry to interrupt. There is no pole there right now. The lamp pole was removed because of the accident. And as far I'm in Brighton for 20 years, and I believe that's not even second time, it was more time this pole to be damaged. That's
Okay, guys, you guys are bringing two different apples here. Because 1 minute you're saying his should not be named, but he should not be co-named. A street should not be co-named by him, but then you're saying find another location. No, that's not what we're saying. If I heard it correctly, we're saying he should be honored in a different way, in the radio station, in the library that he's so, people sat there and they heard him. From what I'm hearing from the committee in the beginning was no street should be co-named for him in the community, not because this street is dirty and because it doesn't have a pole or it's blue or it's purple. Basically, I heard in the beginning, no street, and there were other options that we presented, which again, I'll repeat, the library, the radio station, somewhere else that his honor would be fit as opposed to a street. So don't mix this up by saying all of a sudden this location street is not purple, it's not blue, it's not pink. I'm just, if I'm hearing two different things. So I am going to wait until somebody proposes to approve and then I'll vote.
All right, can we wait a second? Joanne has her hand up.
I
That's
have,
the only person- Excuse me. All right, you didn't have your hand up.
I did have my hand up.
Okay, I apologize. Eddie didn't notice you either, so.
I had my hand up because I've been waiting for somebody to say something, and Lucy said it. The debate wasn't what street corner to put it on. The debate was whether he should have it or not whether Brighton First is a bad street or Brighton Fifth is a bad street or this one has a traffic problem. The question was, should he have a street named after him? And the discussion was putting it maybe in a different location, not a street corner, but at the library or at the radio station, but not a street corner. So we're going off on 15 different tangents. And I have to agree with Lucy. So that's it.
Thank you.
I just want to add.
Is somebody ready? No, is somebody ready to make a motion? We've been debating this
Can
now
I
for
just add
almost an
something,
hour.
Chair? Can I just add something?
Who is asking?
Jeff,
Jeff is, Jeff.
Jeff, yeah.
just very fast. Alex, your father also did a lot of things at the Millennial Theater. So, that could be another area where you can put some type of recognition towards your father. He did a lot over there, did a lot of lectures there that I heard. Thank you.
Cool, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I think my dad would have liked the street that has a complicated history with accidents, all kinds of problems. He was a very complicated person. So I think that sounds like a good place, but that's just my 2 cents.
Is somebody ready to make a motion?
Yes, Gloria.
Gloria?
Yes, I made a motion. I guess
And the motion is?
Forget about it.
I don't think we can properly have.
I
the
thought it
motion
was
that
a
says
motion
forget
to end the meeting. That's what I thought it was.
So the motion has to be positive.
Yeah, the motion has to be a positive motion.
Looks like
somebody-
Joanne has her hand up.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Thank you. Gloria can second it if she feels like.
I make the motion, we approve the corner of whatever the street is for the naming of this individual.
Okay, Marion Cleaver?
No, do we have a second?
We have a second. Gloria, are you going to second it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Marion Cleaver?
I'm going to wait till the rest of the committee votes.
Okay, Shimon Rankowski?
Abstain.
Pat Singer,
You have to unmute, Pat. Hit unmute.
Pat, you're muted.
Motion by Claire is that if you don't want it, what do you?
You vote no.
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. No, okay.
Make no sense.
Yelena Mahmian,
Abstain.
Michael Russo,
I vote yes.
Jeffrey Sanoff.
Abstain.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Abstain.
Thank you. Jack Subin,
Yes.
Gloria Watkins,
Abstain.
It's 2-2.
Joanne Weiss,
Yes.
3-2.
Marion Cleaver,
I'm gonna vote no.
Lucy Mujica Diaz,
There was no discussion on the motion, but I'm opposing on the motion only so they can look for another location, not because of him not being able, not
Both feel that
because
way.
I do not believe he should not be.
But I
back.
thought that's what Joanne said.
He did.
She did. She said
Okay.
another location. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sorry. So I oppose.
No, I didn't say that in my motion.
It's
She said
okay,
no.
it's okay. I think they get it. I'm not gonna argue tonight with anyone, Joanne, but thank you.
Okay,
I
so
oppose, period.
the votes are in, 3 in favor, 3 opposed, 4 abstain.
Which are technically no votes.
I'm sorry, what was it? 3 in favor?
Three in favor,
I'm sorry,
3
3 in
no.
favor, 3 opposed, and 4
No.
abstains.
No, it's not. It's,
Hannah, who's taking the vote?
she is, but it's
Okay.
incorrect. It's 2 opposed and 4 abstentions.
Lucy gets to vote?
4 abstentions, though.
Yeah, and how many for?
Marion opposed, and so did Pat Singer.
And Lucy.
And
Lucy.
Lucy.
And
So
Lucy.
3 opposed.
3 and 4. That's it.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, it doesn't carry.
actions.
It doesn't carry.
It doesn't count.
Because there's 2 ties and then the abstain
No
becomes, yes. So it does not carry.
Still has to go to full board.
See him in Brighton Beach, and then we can put people like.
Motion
Scott
denied.
when you see him.
It still has to go to full board.
Mhm.
Right, which means there's still an opportunity
At a
for
committee.
Boris to
tonight.
come to the full board, correct?
Yes.
All right, so there's still that opportunity.
Yes, it will have to come before the full board next week.
Yeah. 22nd.
All right, next on the agenda?
There is
Guys,
nothing else on the agenda.
Guys, I'm probably not needed anymore. Really lovely meeting all of you, and I'm gonna disconnect. Right?
All right, should we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday?
Yeah, I can be here all the time now if you want. Nice to meet you guys. Like, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. You made the motion. Is there any new business for this committee?
No, I took it off the table. I'll bring it next
You
month.
took it off the table, right? There is 2 hands up. I saw Vanya's first
Okay, and then Craig.
and then Craig.
I just want to confirm I didn't understand the semantics of everything. So right now, because it's tied and then 4 abstentions, we're gonna go to vote for general meeting. Is that what?
Either way, it
Is
would
that
go
what
to
it-
the general meeting. We can't have a small committee decide for the whole board.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
All right,
Just needed,
Craig?
Okay.
Thanks. So I'm going to decide my objection to the procedural issues because I think I've made my position on that known pretty well at this point. But I just have a question about the new guidelines, whether they're available for review and comment, since I know they were distributed a few hours before. And thank you, Lucy, for asking folks to take a closer look at it before voting on them. Is that something that can be shared?
No, I'm not gonna share it. I'm only sharing it with the committee for review, for discussion. And it's not gonna end at one meeting because I'm sure they're gonna have a lot of input. And then once they have their input, then we can circulate it around. And board members will have their input. And then, of course, I'll discuss if we should bring it to full board or not, because when we did the stipulations for the liquor license, it was not brought to the full board. It just stayed a committee. But we'll discuss it, as I said, when they have the next land use meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close this meeting.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second on the motion?
I second.
Thank you.
Right.
Who's?
Sorry,
anybody-
Mayor.
There's nothing to do. You say goodnight.
Good night, guys.
You don't have to
Okay.
vote.
Good night.
Mayor and
gonna say
Cleaver?
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Hearing
Night,
no objection.
everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you.
Buenos noches.
Good night, everybody.
Feel better, Chris.